What's up, nerds? Welcome back. And a big congratulations to DC Comics because I think it's official. Nobody gives a shit who Red X is anymore. All right, so again, we're continuing with Teen Titans Academy, but again, I don't know why this book is even called Teen Titans Academy. For one, we haven't seen very much of like a school dynamic, and then for another thing, it's all kind of focused, or it's sort of been focused on this Red X thing for like the longest time. And as we're going to see here, someone finally finds out who Red X is, but it's not us. So we kind of just start out with this whole crap where we're getting like a recap, and I think it's Diego who's basically doing the whole internal monologue thing. And he's just talking about how he loves Gotham City and all that. There's just something extra about this place. The people, the hustle, even the terrible smell. It's home. Some people would say it's unlivable or dangerous or whatever. And then he's talking about how he has this huge like crush and shit on Batman. So when he was a little kid, he did still look normal because if you remember, he's Chupacabra now, so he's all white and shit. But when he was a little kid, he saw Batman and he like fell in love with them or whatever. And then he crashes into Nightwing and he has like a problem with Nightwing for whatever reason. He says just one of the cheap copies. So he's the one who took him back to this Beaumont home for children. He says, "Another flight, Master Perez. Your wings want clipping." He tells him, like, "I don't have wings." He's talking to, like, the headmaster or whatever the fuck for this place. And he says, could have fooled me. Those gates outside are 6 meters high and covered in razor wire. Getting past them was impressive." He says, "And against the rules, as it was the last time, and the time before that. It seems the usual punishments have failed to correct your misbehavior." So he's like, "I'm sure you'll find a more unusual punishment." That's what Diego says. So anyway, he leaves him here. Then we get this flashback. And one thing I did like about this was that like they outlined it literally with the words flashbacks. I was like, okay, from there and then there all the way through. I mean, you could have just taken from the fact that there's a color change from, night to day, color palette change and all that. So it does kind of signify that. But the fact that they kind of made it a little more obvious for some people, a nice touch. I like that. But anyway, he's going back to his room, and this is where he's with the other two, that girl, Brat Girl, and then the other one is Megabat. I don't know, they have real names here, but I keep forgetting what they are. Anyway, he's telling them about how he saw Batman and shit. He's kind of just like geeking out and being all hyped about it. And then they're also like really into Batman too. So she says he's a genius and badass brawler. And then Diego finishes it by saying, "And the world's greatest detective." So he's like, if anybody can figure out why kids have been disappearing from this place, it's the Batman. Because they basically asked him, like, well, did you at least tell Nightwing about what's been going on here? And he says, no. So anyway, he's like, what would Batman do? And then they decide they're going to go ahead and investigate it themselves. So they break into like the administrator's office and shit. And they're just looking around through all of his stuff, but then they can hear him coming back. So they like hide and shit, and he comes in with this guy, this other doctor. What's his name? Grussel, Doctor Grussel. And he's like, "I apologize for the longer than usual wait." And he's like, "It's been over 3 weeks." So he's like, "Keep your voice down. Nightwing could still be around." He says, "My superior has been very patient. What is taking you so long?" He says, "Products that meet yours and your superior's extensive criteria are hard to come by. You've run through my entire supply. If, say, you are willing to compromise on a few of the smaller details," he's like, "just show me what's left." So he's just picks out a random file, says, "I'll take this one, Laporte, Lucas," which is actually this one. So he's going to take that one, but they start walking back to his room, and they immediately like freak out, like, okay, shit, we need to figure out what's going on here because obviously something's going on here. And they're looking around, but then they realize, hey, wait a minute, Diego's gone. And we see why, because he ran back to their room and he's pretending to be Lucas. So he even says, he like, here, "Diego, why no, I'm Lucas Laporte, administrator. Don't you remember? The unusual kid who's constantly in your hair?" And the dude's just like, "Yes, yes, of course. Well, no longer, Lucas. Pack your bag. The good doctor here has seen fit to adopt you." So he's like, "Wow, what a lucky day for us all." And then, they take off in a car and shit. And then apparently, this chick apparently just made her own tracking devices, I guess. Out of what? We don't know. It looks like a cat now that I look at it, it looks more like a cat than a bat. But her whole persona is supposed to be based off of Batman. I don't know. Maybe she also takes after Catwoman. I don't know. But she has him throw that and it like lands on the car and everything so they can track him. And then they're like, don't worry. She tells Lucas, don't worry, we'll find him and we'll get him back. We just have to make one quick stop first. So they do that, they take off, and then we go over to where he's actually about to experiment on Lucas Diego. And as you can imagine, this is how he ends up getting his powers. And I wasn't sure how at first, but he immediately gives it away when he's like, my gift, my work, the work that fool Langstrom never completed, never fully realized. The man bat, a selfish, unstable abomination. What I and my benefactors are giving you, the children of the world, is selfless. A cure for the most deadly plague in history, the most cunning of all diseases. That which masks its deadly nature in the cloak of life, the disease of humanity itself. So he says, mind you, the serum's full effect will not be immediate. Think of it as a blueprint as you grow and mature, will instruct your frail human DNA on how to rebuild itself into that of an apex predator, a creature of the night, a super soldier. Hey, wait a minute. This is the wrong company for that super soldier talk, sir. Anyway, so he gives him that and he's like, it's gonna hurt a lot, and then he like blacks out and everything. But then he wakes up as they're coming in to like rescue him and shit. And Grusel's like on the phone. He doesn't notice them at first, but of course he turns around and does see them. And then Diego starts to like wake up. He's like, how long was I out or whatever? And then Lucas like throws the light. I think that's what it is. It's not like a chair or anything. I'm pretty sure it's just the light. So he throws that at the dude, and Diego's like, "Wow, have you been working out or whatever the hell?" So they bust him out of the restraints. And then this is where we see that not only was this doctor, I guess, working with Langstrom, he also experimented with the serum because he also turns into somewhat of a man bat. But it seems like he's more in control because he's able to, like, talk crudely. And he's basically saying, like, nowhere to run, filthy little humans. And then, of course, you got Lucas over here squaring up, ready to just box with him. And so we go from there to where he attacks, and he attacks Diego first for some reason. But Diego shines this light in his face, which I guess because he's a bat is enough to like kind of blind him for a moment. So they use that to get away from him. And then this is the first indication we see where Diego's starting to kind of have a little bit of a transformation. He has this like pain in his shoulder. And so they reach a dead end because the door is all boarded up and shit. So they get ready again to like fight him, I guess, because they realize they're trapped. But then all of a sudden, he just falls down like in agonizing pain, and they're like, "Wait, what the hell happened?" And they see Nightwing standing there. So Bratgirl's like, "And a dog whistle, of course. See, the whistle produces a pitch at a frequency outside the spectrum of human hearing. Dogs can hear it, and so can other animals with sensitive ears, like bats." I'm so glad that she said all of that. Otherwise, it would have been mansplaining. I couldn't resist. Anyway, so Diego says, I don't understand. Then why did we hear it? He says, we didn't. Well, Nightwing is like, we didn't, Diego, but you did. So, yeah, that's when all of a sudden he's like, wait, why is everyone looking at me? Like, do I have a booger? And that's where we see that's when he first started to kind of like transform. So he's outside and I think it's Nightwing is talking to the cops, right? Yeah. And then they're all kind of just like freaking out. They have this one little gag in here, and he says, I can't believe it. I just can't. I can't believe Nightwing carries a compact. I want to say that's a really stupid joke, but it was actually funny. Like when I saw that, that's what he was looking at, like an actual compact. I was like, oh, okay. And then they're like, Bratgirl's like explains the impossible quaff. But seriously, how are you doing? So he's basically saying like he's okay with it. He literally says this is so freaking Drac. And he's like, "Oh my god, wait, do you think I'll get wings?" Which that would be pretty badass. So she's like, "He's going to be fine." And then Nightwing comes back over and he's like, "Wait a minute, do you have my space blanket, Diego?" Because it's one of those like foil blankets or whatever. He's like, "Diego Perez is no more. From this day forth, I am the Chupacabra." So seriously, I heart this look. Like they literally spelled it Lewk. Like I get it, but no one actually talks like never mind. He's like, "Can I keep it, please?" And then he says, "You might not have a choice. We don't know anything about the dangerous serum that." And he's like, "Yes." So Brat Girl says, "Nice work disrupting Grusel's echolocation and inflicting auditory pain was quick thinking. I'm glad you had it on hand, but I have to ask, why does Nightwing need a dog whistle? Do you even have a dog?" He's like, "No, but I could, maybe someday." So he says it's just folks in our line of work can find it hard to make time for pets and people and pets. So Diego's like, "Wait, did you say our line of work?" And then he's like, "Diego Chupacabra, you stepped in and took Lucas's place, having no idea what Grisel had in store." Basically, he tells him like, "You were all heroes in this one little like incident." And he says, "Because earlier tonight, Commissioner Jim Gordon received an anonymous tip via a rather thick file folder left at police headquarters. The file was full of receipts for transactions that tie Dr. Grisel and others to the administrator of the Beaumont home and implicates them all in some very serious child trafficking, if not worse, charges." So they're asking like, "Well, did he give the evidence to Batman?" And he tells them, "Well, Batman would have just given it back to him, so the information's already in the right place." So they're kind of celebrating about that. He says there's only a handful of kids left at Beaumont these days. They'll be placed in foster care unless more suitable arrangements can be made. So that's where Bratgirl's like, "Wait, they're gonna split us up." He says, "Unless more suitable arrangements can be made." So he says, what you did today was impulsive, but it was also impressive. I think you three make quite the little bat pack." So apparently that's where they got the name. And he says, "And that got me thinking. There's a new project I've started planning with my old pack. And well, ever been to New York?" Because he's obviously going to send them to Titan's Tower. And that's actually what finally brings us back to this, where they're talking to Red X. So that's where this whole story was going, was them recapping for him how they got here. And so Bratgirl's like, "Yeah, we left out a few small details, that didn't advance the narrative in an organic way." Anyway, she says, "But it still made sense, right? You could follow the plot, our investigation into your identity, our origin story, etc., even if some of the dialogue was iffy." He's like, "Yeah, okay then, a deal's a deal." So apparently he's going to reveal himself to them. And she's like, "Wait, why are you going to do this to us?" And he says, "Because Nightwing saw something in you three. Now I see it too. And I want you on my team, not his. So this is my play to win you over." And Diego looks at him like, "No way." Like, he's just like amazed. And then he says, "The Titans have never shown you this kind of trust, and they never will. Now tell me honestly." And we don't actually get to see his face because he puts it back on. But as you can see, Megabat doesn't look all that impressed. Bratgirl is just kind of looking like, "Okay, it was you?" Like, so I don't actually know what we're supposed to. I'm still going off of the assumption that it's Dane. I'm gonna go with that for now, but we'll find out. I don't know. Like, it's even more frustrating that we're literally 5 issues into this crap and you're still teasing it. Like, just show who he is already and then start telling me the story. I don't need you to drag this like reveal out for this long. What is this, DC's Millennium? Anyway, he's like, "He'll be here in less than a minute." And she says, "Who?" He's like, "I have to lie low for a bit, but the next time we meet, I want your answer." And they're like, "Answer to what?" He says, "Are you going to keep on being the Titans' loyal mascots, or are you ready to join a better pack? One that's looking out for you. Summer break's coming up. Take that time, give it some thought. And thanks for the story. Maybe next time I'll tell you mine." So he jumps out the window, and then all of a sudden, Nightwing comes and knocks on the door. So he's like, "Yo, it really was less than a minute. He has it all. Like, how did he know that?" So anyway, Nightwing takes them. He's like, "Come on, stragglers, it's happening. Let's go." And they're over there whispering about like, "We need to tell him no. We should just wait." Well, basically, Diego's the one saying like, "No, we need to wait." And Bratgirl's just like, "Well, we need to tell him." He's like, "Well, come on. I'm just saying, let's wait a second." So she's like, "All right, fine. We'll wait a little bit and we'll just see what happens." Megabat doesn't say anything, and then we get this, which is even more confusing. "Congratulations, you did it." So apparently they graduated, I guess. We're 5 issues in, and we're still doing the whole Red X, who's Red X thing. We've barely seen them ever be a school, like only in a few times, and it was very brief. And now all of a sudden they're graduating? What? What the hell? Or they're passing from the next on to the next grade or whatever the hell? How? How? Like we saw nothing here, and you're still giving us barely anything. I mean, this whole like interest story, like this whole backstory on Diego and everything, couldn't that have been done in a different book or in some other way? Like, I get it. We wanted to know what happened to Diego. I was also kind of curious, like how did he get his powers and how did he end up looking like that? So I guess it is kind of cool to know it. But on the other hand, like I said, couldn't you have done that in like another like a one shot or a tie-in issue? That's the type of story you tell in a one shot or a tie-in. That's where you tell like origins and shit like that. For this, when we're still trying to figure out just who is Red X, and then at the end of the issue, you're gonna have them going on like finishing their first year when we've barely even seen any of the school dynamic. Okay, I guess this is where we're at with whatever the hell this is. This is why I'm saying like congratulations DC, because I don't think anyone cares anymore. I think there was legitimate hype when it was announced that Red X was going to be in the book, and then for a little bit people were like, okay, it's going to be a little bit of a mystery as they kind of like draw it out until we find out. Now nobody cares anymore. Now you could reveal it to be whoever you want, and no one will care. I guarantee. It could be, I don't know, Pa Kent or something. No one's going to care. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see how many more issues it takes for them to eventually reveal that, or if it's going to come out in like an annual or something, because it says the next thing is what, summer break. So I don't know how that's going to play out. But yeah, like I said, they found out who Red X is. So now they know, and the only thing we kind of have to go off of is Diego's reaction. So he kind of reacted positively, like he looked like he was actually really happy with who it is. So I don't know if that's supposed to be any other further indication, but I'm still operating off of the assumption that I think it's Dane, because it just that's the only one that I could see it being. Like no one else kind of fits the look of him. They kind of tried to make it seem like it was Brick, but I don't think that it's Brick. He doesn't it something there just doesn't match up. He doesn't seem like the type, and especially since we've seen him in a past issue just like acting like an asshole, I don't really think that's going to be the case. So I guess we'll find out, like I said, how many more issues it takes before eventually they actually show us who the hell Red X is. And we'll see if anybody actually bothers to talk about it. Like, will anybody actually give a shit? My prediction is no. I don't think anybody's actually going to care by that time. But I guess we'll find out. So if you read this issue, then definitely let me know what you thought down in the comments below. And if you like this video, then definitely like the video, subscribe, and share the video if you feel so inclined. But if you're done here, then go and read a book. And if not, then I'll see you on my next video.